So, Forgotten Friendships. I'm sure you forgot I even did reviews, and that was terrible. So, let's just forget. Something new that wasn't linked and leaked, and let's get to this before we're all affected by Alzheimer's, and oh, I cannot use that. Am I the only one who hates Max from Parenthood? I mean, you know what? Let's just cut trying to be awkwardly funny and review. Forgotten Friendships, the newest movie specialist thing from the Equestria Girls. Admittedly, with the YouTube series, it's kind of hard to keep track of where in their lives this is supposed to take place. What events already happened, how should or shouldn't something affect the characters. In hindsight, to make things a bit easier, I'll just act like this took place sometime after the Magic's arc and go from there. So for this setup, we have, if I'm honest, just an okay opening number, where the Spectacular 7 are putting together the yearbook. They went from not having a band or anything else suggested they'd be interested in the second movie, and then the rainbow seems to disappear mostly for this, so sure, why not? After some talk on how great friendship is, we're introduced to a new character in the background named Wallflower. And yeah, I guessed it too, and having Trixie's presence was just a red herring. But I'll give it credit where credit is due that at least tries to make the story a little more unpredictable down the line. Maybe not for older fans, but for its younger demographic, I could see at times in the beginning where people are like, well, maybe not believing that Wallflower isn't going to be the villain, but at least suggesting Trixie might be out for revenge as well. Fast forwarding a bit to the beach, where every DA artist will be drawing for the next 10 weeks, we cut to what the premise sets up as Sunset's friends don't seem to remember her. Now I knew this would happen, but what I didn't see coming was that they still remember her, just not all the good times and trials they had together. I gotta say, as someone who may or may not have a few friends that more or less want nothing to do with you, you can't help but feel really bad for Sunset here. These girls were the ones who were always there for Sunset, even when everyone else wasn't. They were the reason she gave a damn and put any effort into her reformation, and are now, we want nothing to do with you for being a horrible person. Luckily, whatever's going on has only affected the human world, as Princess Twilight remembers. Which means Equestria time and, is it just me or does Pony Sunset look a little, But to make my point, here's how she looked in the first movie. Now here's a model my friend Mitty Root is making, and here's Pony Sunset now. I'm not sure if I can quite describe it, but there's just something about her darker highlights that just don't mesh as well. Fortunately, Pony Sunset is not in the movie for long, and oh my Celestia, they're doing this. Oh, all the fan fictions that were written about this very moment. Will it play out as we all dreamed it would? Well, saying that out loud, I'm pretty much already setting up for failure, aren't I? I think it could have been a bit more emotional at points, but most of that comes just from years of seeing this similar scene play out far better in other sources. Admittedly too, those stories' only focus was on their reunion, while here there's another conflict going on. However, with that out of the way, I think it does do the best job it can with those expectations and what we got. We have Sunset having no choice and against her fears faces them, is rewarded, and I wish we had a bit more emotional Celestia than one trying to toy a bit to ease tension. It did feel really good. It then has another great scene we fanfiction writers have only dreamed of as, yes, there is in fact a restriction section in the library. Kind of a given in a world of magic, but it's still awesome to see, and I do have to admire the ingenuity of how it's hidden. Yes, other fantasy worlds. Let's put all those dangerous spellbooks in plain sight behind a cell bar door and a sign saying, dangerously powerful books, do not enter. What could possibly go wrong? Now one thing I see people complain about is how Twilight never knew the restriction section existed. Well, to my joke point above, would it have really been a good idea to let a younger Twilight, who always aimed to impress her teachers, know that there was a restriction section in the library she didn't need to know? Also, we wouldn't have this adorkable segment.
You sure you're up for helping me go through all this stuff?
Don't take this away from me! Can you believe they have Counterlock Cannibals Volume 31? You heard me! 31! Digital indigo weather warning from the pre-equestrian era! Oh.
After some light reading, and Sunset likely missing a few days of school, we then come across the magical thingy of this movie, the Memory Stone. That was part of Clover the Clever 7 Trials. I'll save that bit of analysis for others to explore, but I picture it be similar to the 12 Trials of Hercules if you want to get started. However, because the plot demands it, a page is missing and is possibly hidden in the restrictions section, despite that being the point of a restricted section. Well, Sunset has enough to go on to return home. Once back, she tries to convince her friends their friendship was real, and it seems to have some effect till Trixie interferes. And then we get what really made me want to review this special.
It was an accident. I can help fix it.
I think you've helped enough.
One of the things I and fans love about Sunset's redemption arc, apart from others in the series, is what she had to go through to earn it. Unlike many others that have been said to just been too easily given it, Sunset's never was, and that creates a lot of empathy for her character. So much so that back in Rainbow Rocks, there was even a part of me that wanted Sunset to just say screw it for all she had to put up with when they needed her the most. But it only made me love her more when, without knowing she would be rewarded, did the right thing and was so. Here, she finds herself back where she was in Rainbow Rocks, and it causes her to snap. From a personal standpoint, I can understand. If you can't make people respect you by being nice, why do so at all? If this is the response you get by trying to help, why not just scream and blame someone else? Fortunately, when Sunset realizes Trixie had nothing to do with anything, and forms an unlikely friendship in order to find the Memory Stone, which could be argued why Sunset would need Trixie's help, but it fits much like it worked with Starlight. They play off each other nicely, and it makes good parallels to their individual struggles, as Sunset's isolation starts to have slow but steady effects, as just seeing her friends happy without her makes her angry, even when calling someone, well, they can't use the B word, but the point is still made with how pushed Sunset is. To which we then have the, not too surprising, reveal of the villain being Wallflower. As it turns out, she's a mini version of Background Ponies. And I better get this out of the way, as many consider her the weakest part of the movie, and for the most part, they're right. Though that's really not saying much when it comes to the Equestria Girls series in my opinion. At first when I saw her, I knew she had something to do with the forgetting part of the title, as she seems to just blend into the background, and she'd be some parallel to people who want to stand out in terms of being a creative brony, but can't get as popular as others. However, it turns out she's more the mirror opposite of Old Man McGucky in one of the Gravity Falls episode with the memory machine. Instead of being able to delete one's own mind of painful memories, it's able to make others forget embarrassing things that you've done with similar consequences. As all making people forget the little things she does ends up making people forget about her in general. However, this does lead to the flaw with her. She wants to be noticed, and yet she creates her own problems for that. A bit of a contradiction, but what keeps her from being terrible is the irony of it. Similar to what we learned at the end of that one Gravity Falls episode. You need the painful memories to learn from them. It's part of life, and as great as it would be if I could make everyone forget that one art piece that cost me one of my best friends in this fandom, I know, one, I honestly can't, and two, even if I could, I wouldn't erase them. I need those painful memories of that incident to know to always ask to see a final art piece for someone before they post it, and to be more careful in how I praise my wording whenever I panic over something like this. For now, after being confronted, Wallflower uses the stone to get away. Though if she could do that, why didn't she make them forget about ever looking for the stone? You could make the argument that's one of the things the stone can't erase. It's weak, but it makes sense. However, it turns out there was a note in Sunset's pocket, and the whole thing was recorded on Twilight's drone. Of course, this leads people to asking, how was Sunset able to reprogram the drone and have it record everything? While it is a pretty big plot hole, I think I may have a theory that, yeah, I wish it was explained, but I still really would like it if this is actually what happened. Now remember this moment when the girls were taking a selfie and we have this look from Twilight. Personally, what I think happened is that Twilight had some self-doubt about everything that was going on. So, if you will, tried to investigate. Once she learned what was going on, she set everything up to try and stop Wallflower. Again, it's kind of a bit of a stretch, but it seems fitting as Twilight and Sunset had the strongest bond. It's a neat way to apply how their friendship goes beyond their memories. And then we kind of lead into the moral of this story.
Maybe it's not good enough to not be mean to someone. Maybe you have to be nice.
I'm honestly a bit conflicted with this moral idea. In terms of narration, I never would have thought Sunset didn't do nice things for people. If anything, that's all she has been doing throughout the series. Then again, I do like what it's trying to convey, how forgiveness isn't just about what you don't do, but what you do do. Although every situation is different, and sometimes the correct route is actually to do nothing, especially if someone is mad at you and doesn't want to talk. However, I think the point this was trying to get across is, you can't just expect people to forgive you for doing nothing about your action. As we see when Sunset escapes by being encouraging to Trixie, though how she knew actual magic I'll leave someone else to nitpick, and confronts Wallflower one last time, but not before this powerful moment. We then see the even greater tragedy of Wallflower with this line.
Nothing. like me. And I'm not lonely because I have... plants!
Sunset tries to appeal, but Wallflower sees this as Sunset only trying to impress her friends while she has all the cards on the table. Yet seeing as how nothing she does is working, Wallflower feels forced to erase not just the good memories of Sunset, but all their memories they have of her, to which Sunset finds her moments for her actions to apply. Without knowing again what will happen, she leaps in harm's way to save her friends. This leads to both the adorable and heart-wrenching, adore-wrenching? Let's erase. I already said it, so let's leave it as it is. Sunset forgets everything about her time at Canterlot High as she thinks she's a pony. This action is enough to win her friends back, even if they can't remember. And you know the drill. They go Sailor Moon, the day is saved, another reformed character, and shipping fuel. And that was Forgotten Friendship. Overall, I had really fun with this. With that said, I probably would place this as my second least favorite of the Equestria Girls movie between Legends and Magic, but that's still not saying much of it being bad. The only weak element being Wallflower's arc being poorly planned out, and a few other details I think another draft or two could have fixed. It still did what it could with many of the things fans wanted to see for years. You feel so bad for Sunset throughout the whole ordeal it makes the ending where she wins all the more inspiring. And I'll happily watch it again just for that scene with Twilight in the restricted section.
Don't take this away from me!
But that's all I have to say. What about you? Share your own experiences with this movie and dealing with painful memories, and I hope you enjoyed this video.